Hi. Well, it's another beautiful day, as always. And today I'd like to talk about a few things. Now, one of them is that about desire. Now, I've talked about desire before on here, but what desire is the driver of your thoughts. Okay? When you desire something, okay, that's causing thoughts to happen. Now, I know it's hard to get rid of desires, it's hard to get rid of wanting things, okay? But that's what we have to do. And in order to still the thoughts, okay, we need to get rid of our desires. Now, how do we do this? Okay, once again, by accepting. Now, whether you're desiring money or cars or other people or whatever it is, that desire is like a disease. And it's making you think thoughts. Okay? We don't really think of desire as being something bad. We think of it as just part of what is, part of what life is. But the fact is that desire is the problem. Now, Buddha said that craving is the result of suffering, craving of the mind. Well, desire is craving, it's the same thing. And what when we think of craving, we think of a pregnant woman eating fish and peanut butter at the same time. But it's the same thing, okay? And this desire that you have for a specific thing or for a specific outcome is basically the same thing as a model or as a plan, okay? Except it's a lot more intense because it's emotional. Now, what that means is that it's got you, okay? I mean, I don't know everything, but I do know that these things are traps, okay? Now, if you're a man and you desire a woman, okay, that's fine. But if you desire her to the point of, you know, I don't know, greed or lust, okay, then that's going to be bad. Or if you desire to have a specific job, or you desire all these desires, okay, which we think are perfectly normal, and they are, okay, are a way for your brain to use your body to make things work. Intense, okay? Your mind, your ego, okay? This is different from just, you know, wanting things. Like, I want a piece of bread because I'm hungry, or I want to take a piss, or whatever it is. This is, another level above want, okay? And this desire, which could be anything, okay, isn't going to make us happy. Now, how do we stop desiring things? Well, uh, accepting. Yep, you must accept, and that's it, okay? As much as desires appear to be fun, okay, or whatever you want to call them, they're really a trap. And unless you accept that it is a trap and that you see it as a trap, then you cannot escape it. You cannot stop desiring. Okay? Think of it like this. Okay? you want something. Let's say it's a car. You see a car and you say, I want that. Okay? And the more you want it, the more it turns into a desire. And that is how it goes. And the more you desire something, okay, the more it's going to get you. So what we need to do is accept that it is a trap. Okay? Just like we need to accept that time is a trap. We need to accept that this feeling of separation is a trap. This feeling of permanence, which the world is not permanent, the world is impermanent. But all these things are traps. Okay? Just like some of the other things I've talked about. Okay? Including you, your ego, your personality. All those are traps. Okay? And in order to get free of those and a lot of other things, okay, we need to accept that that's what they are. We can go ahead and say, no, that's not a trap. It's ridiculous. Okay? Absolutely, we can do that. Okay? But it's not going to get us anywhere. I assume anyone watching this wants freedom. And if so, then you have to start seeing the world as it really is. I know it's hard. It's not easy to see the world as it really is. But that's what we should do. Have to do. Okay? So, now, how do we accept this desire, okay, as a trap? By seeing with awareness. Okay, which means stopping the thinking. Although the desire is the driver of thoughts, which it is, okay, you can still stop the thinking by meditation. Okay? And once we're in the now, we can turn and look at the desire and see it as a trap. Okay? And we do that just by, putting some awareness into the feeling of wanting something. Okay? And we, by even just saying, this, I feel this wanting, I feel this desire. But I know it sounds ridiculous, but in a way, saying or acknowledging something is a huge help. Acknowledge what you're doing. You don't have to say it out loud, but by acknowledging that something is coming, by acknowledging that there is an emotion coming, by acknowledging there's a desire coming, okay, we can escape it. Okay. Human psychology is a funny thing, but we can acknowledge, okay, everything without making it a part of us. And that's the other thing that makes it a trap. Because if you desire something enough, it eventually becomes a part of you. You cannot live without that thing, whatever it is. And that means that it becomes part of your identity. Once again, we're talking about identity, which is really everything, okay? If you identify with the person, if you identify with the history, if you identify with the pain or the fear, then you're going to be lost. Okay, I don't want you to be lost, but that's what's going to happen. But it's possible to not identify with those things, to realize that those things are not you. This is really the thing that can help you, because this identity thing is so cloying and grabbing onto you. It grabs onto you. Okay? That's what it does. I mean, it's just the way it is. Okay? So we need to learn to identify with the part of us that's not wanting, the part of us that's not desiring, the part of us that's not upset, the part of us that's not crying, the part of us that's not depressed. And that part of us is the soul, or we can call it anything you want, because really we don't know what it is, but we know that it comes from God, or at least comes from the universe. Okay. I don't know anything really, except that something's out there. Okay? No question about it. Something is out there or not. That's just the way it is. Okay? Now we can fight against the desire, which doesn't get us anywhere. Okay? Plenty of times I have tried to fight the desires. I'm sure you have too. Okay? Like, for instance, I don't know, cigarettes. Okay? Having a cigarette is part of having a desire. Okay? And it's very hard to put down, or any drug, really. Because it's an emotional desire for a feeling. Okay? And that desire has you. And that's why you can't quit. And that's just the way it is. And that is going to follow you to the grave unless you can acknowledge that there is a feeling of wanting a cigarette, okay, coming on. And allow it to be there without possessing it, without identifying with it. Okay? And that's it, pretty much. Now, that's how you can get free of this desire, okay? And really, that's the whole ball game, okay? Acknowledge that a feeling is coming on. Acknowledge that a emotion is coming on. Acknowledge that whatever it is, okay, is coming, okay? Like in the Matrix when the architect says, I sense the onset of an emotion. You need to do that for yourself, okay? And that's what is the awareness. This awareness that is you, that you have, that's part of who you are. We don't really think of it as anything because ordinary life, we're just aware of doing and stuff like that, but we're not really aware of everything that's going on because it's all going too fast, okay? So, just try to put a little bit of awareness into what is going on with you, okay? Like sensing what's happening, okay? And I know that's hard, okay? And a lot of people might say, what do you mean by putting awareness? Well, what I mean is by detaching from your normal operating system, or not system, but procedure, okay? And realizing what is happening. Realize that you are having an emotion. Realize that you are having pain. Obviously, you know when you have pain. But unless you acknowledge the pain, unless you allow the pain and not judge it, not possess it, okay? Which we do when we say, I have a pain, or my something hurts, okay? So, try to be aware of what is happening with you, okay? Normal circumstances, you're only semi-aware. You're really asleep at the switch, okay? And that's because that's the way it was set up to be, okay? Not by anyone in particular, but by the whole system. The whole system has set up to be this way, okay? But you are capable of putting that awareness into any situation. And that awareness is you. You are the awareness. You are the consciousness, okay? Which comes from the inner divine identity, okay? Which is you. Now, I get it. It's hard to realize that that's the case. It's hard to see that you are not John Smith, who lives in Bel Air, California, and has a Porsche and a Maserati and all these things, okay? Your whole world is focused on obtaining things, acquiring things, okay? Because that's what you think is right. That's what you think is going on. You think that's what's important. And it starts out when you're a kid, okay? And you see the world around you. You see this material world around you, okay? And you identify with it. And you identify with wanting these things, okay? So, that's the problem, okay? And the more you want something you can't have, the more suffering you're going to undergo. That's just the way it is, okay? And maybe you want something when you're 18. Let's say you want a Ferrari when you're 18. You're going to spend your entire life, okay, wanting that. It's going to become a desire. It's going to become an emotional want. That's what desires are, okay? Your emotions get pulled into it, and that gives it more impact. That gives it more ability to affect you, okay? And make you do what it wants you to do. That's just the way it is, okay? I don't necessarily think it's good, obviously, but it's part of life. And just like identifying with the body, identifying with the person, identifying with the wanting, it's part of the trap. Okay? That's all there is to it. Okay? And what we have to try and do, or we should want to do, is to escape the trap. And there are traps everywhere. Okay? Grabbing at you. Okay? Trying to possess you. And it's up to you whether you allow them to do that. Okay? And it's really easy to fall into that. Because that's just the way it is. Okay? I mean, when you are a kid, let's say you're 18, and you want to know what to do with your life, right? And eventually you decide on something, and you go do it. Linked in with that, or part of that, is a system of desire, which drives you on. Desire is driving you on. That's what's driving you. That's what's giving you the impetus to do something. Okay? You see some business owner who's making a lot of money and has everything, and you say to yourself, I want that. I want to become that. And so you start desiring to have position, desiring to have wealth. Okay? And if you don't have those things, then that's suffering. Okay? But then you... sorry about that. Then you take action and go around trying to become that. Okay? Because that's what you think is important in this life. Okay? We have been fooled into this monetary system that we think is what's important. Okay? And that this money, okay, is what matters. But the fact is, it's not. Money is meaningless, so is everything else, except your connection with other people and with God. That's it. That's the only thing that really matters in this life. If you think that's otherwise, then continue being you. Okay? I certainly don't want to make anybody feel like they shouldn't be you, but that's what they gotta be. Okay? But it's all just traps. Okay? And these traps keep you in the dream. And this dream is simply your reality. We all try to understand reality. We all try to see what reality is doing and being. Okay? Because that way we think it's going to help us, okay? But the fact is, reality has been twisted. Reality has been, you know, made different by all the traps and all of the things operating in your brain, like your ego, okay? So there's no way you can know what reality is. So what you do is you say, you say, I'm going to make my reality this, okay? By choosing what you're going to do for a living and choosing what you want in the future and so on and so forth. And so you completely miss what is real, okay? Because you are going after a model in your mind of the way you want the world to be, okay? And there's plenty of people that are able to do that. There's plenty of people that are able to make the world the way they want to be. If you want to make the world the way you want to be, then by all means you can do that, okay? But that's not going to get you freedom, okay? Anyway, this whole thing of awakening is really about recognizing what it is, recognizing that all these things exist to keep you into. Sorry about that. Your state of being, which is not being very aware, not being very awake. Okay, maybe people would say, oh, well, I'm awake. What are you talking about? Well, in the sense of being in a dream, okay? And you cannot control a dream, okay? That's the way that is. And you cannot control what's happening in your life. That's how you know it's a dream, okay? Even if you are rich, even if you are wealthy, even if you spent, the last 10, 20, 30 years becoming rich, okay? You still can't control your life because it's a dream. Now, we can argue about that. We can say, oh, no, it's not a dream. Oh, yes, it is a dream. And all that stuff. Okay, by all means. But it's not going to help us get free. What is going to help us get free is putting the awareness that we are into our life. Okay? That's it. You have this awareness, which is like a coin that you can pay. Okay? And whatever you pay that coin to, whatever you pay attention to, that's where your awareness goes. If your awareness is tied up in your thoughts and your feelings, okay, then you're going to be trapped. That's just the way it is. And how do we separate our awareness from these things? Practices, okay? Breathing. Breathing in, breathing out, and keeping a little bit of awareness into the nose, or into the lungs, or into the throat, or whatever part of your body that you want to keep it into. Ram Dass says he keeps it on the muscle that goes up and down. Doesn't matter. All that matters is getting out of the thought patterns, okay? Just enough to have that awareness be available, okay? And that we do that through their practices. And those came down from, Buddha and other wise men. Anyway, so try and get out of this pattern of thought, this unconscious pattern of thought, this pattern of thought that is making you unhappy. Okay? And the reason it's making you unhappy is because your desires are driving your thoughts. Okay? Which took me a long time to figure out. Okay? And that's why you can't stop thinking, because you are full of desire. Okay? But it's possible to just do the practices. Okay? And eventually you'll start to feel that awareness come loose from the thinking. Okay? And that's where you direct it to the desire so that you can free yourself of that. Okay? And all these things are part of the trap, okay, of the flesh, part of the trap of the person. Okay? And if you want to stay a person, if you want to stay in the trap, by all means, you can do that. Okay? By not doing anything. Billions of people, okay, have stayed in the trap, okay, and then died. That has happened. But it's possible not to do that. It's possible to let it go. Sorry about that. Like I said, I'm getting old. That's just life. And so I don't have as much energy as I used to. But you know what? That doesn't really matter. What matters is being in the now, being aware of this moment. Okay? Not being trapped inside of all these things. Okay? And I know it's hard to realize or recognize that that's what's going on. But that is what is going on. And I get it. It's hard. It's hard to feel that the water you're in is really syrup. But it is. And you can't move in the syrup because it's so thick. Okay? That's the way it is. And the brain or the mind is keeping the syrup there because that helps it to control you. That's the way it is. This syrupy feeling of life, okay, is part of existence. It's part of what you feel in the morning. It's part of what you feel before you go to bed. Okay? That's what is. But it doesn't have to be part of us. It doesn't have to become our identity. Okay? And then you can say, oh no, I don't feel that I'm in the syrup. Okay? But if you're unhappy, if you're angry, if you're sad, irritated, jealous, then you are in the syrup. Because those things keep you from really experiencing life and the world the way it is. Okay? That's just the way that is. I mean, you can't help it because it's the way it's always been. Okay? Now, you can easily say, oh, that guy's crazy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Maybe I don't. I don't know. All I can tell you is what I do know. And what I do know is that getting out of the syrup is incredible. Okay? And I want that for you. I want you to feel the feeling that I've felt. Okay? Which is the freedom of, or freedom from that feeling. Okay? And maybe you don't feel that. Maybe you're young and you think life is fine. Fine. Okay? I'm not saying anyone has to do anything. But what you should do or could do is accept. Just accept. Okay? That life is not what you think it is. Okay? It's just not. We'd all love it to be that way, but it isn't. Okay? Life is very different from what you think. And that is just the way it is. Okay? And in order to get through the syrup and out of the syrup, okay, you have to use who and what you are, which is the awareness, the consciousness. Okay? And that's all there is to it. Okay? Just put a little bit of awareness into whatever's going on in your life. Okay? Try and Just detach some awareness from your thoughts and look at what is going on. That's all. And you'll see that it's not good. Okay? All right, well, the clock on the wall tells me the time has come for me to say bye. I love you all because you're me. Please comment and let me know if you didn't understand anything. If you have questions about your awakening, please let me know. I'd love to answer those, and I'll make a video about them. And if you can, share. One more person who sees these videos is one more person who might awaken someday, which is what I want. I want everyone on earth to feel the feelings I've felt because they're the best feelings in the world. They're not emotions, they're just being. And that's what's important. All right, well, have a great day and a great life.